And so good day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is our first in our series of webinars conducted by the AgriFrontier Growth Hub. And today we're discussing how to create a bankable pitch deck. So my name is Anu Menon. I'm a senior manager here at AgriFrontier, and also joining me today is Panina Warura. She's a agribusiness expert and also a Growth Hub manager. So our session will run for about an hour. We'll take you through the process of creating a bankable pitch deck for you to present to investors. And also at the end, we will have a short Q&A where you can ask us questions. So if you have any questions throughout the whole webinar, please feel free to use the chat box and enter your questions in there. And then we can bring it up at the end of the discussion. So AgriFrontier is basically an investment and agribusiness advisory firm. We specialize in helping farm companies, agribusinesses create integrated value chains in Africa. We started off in 2014, and now we have offices in Kenya, Nigeria, and the UK. So we we help companies with anything from doing feasibility studies all the way from becoming investment ready and also fundraising. So there's a lot of things that we can do. We work over 150 projects currently, and we work over 14 countries. And we cover everything from horticulture, agroforestry, grains and oil crops, livestock, processing and value chain, like seed breeding, input suppliers, machinery. So there's a lot of things that we cover then. In terms of agronomic support, we work with partners that provide us agronomic support. So I will pass it on to Panina to talk about the Growth Hub and how we can help SMEs.
Thank you so much, Anu. Yeah, so my name is Panina Aurora. I'm the Growth Hub manager here at AgriFrontier. So the Growth Hub basically provides personalized and special business support to SMEs. This is our aim basically is to help them to become investment ready, improve their governance, provide access to funding and business development to expand into regional and international markets. So our services are, we provide our services in three folds, which includes the pre-funding support, fundraising support, and post-fundraising support. So in terms of the pre-funding support, basically we support SMEs prior to their fundraising journey. This is basically guiding them through their business strategy to promote their organic and sustainable growth. Also, through this, we provide a range of services which include investor readiness assessment, business planning, financial modeling, corporate governance, agronomy, capacity building, among others. So once the company, we have supported them through the pre-funding support, we then assist them with the fundraising support. Our main support areas is mostly equity and debt fundraising. This is through, we help them through the process of their capital raising, advising these SMEs on the right capital structure and identify sustainable and interested investors, and also managing the interested investors on their in the negotiation process and reviewing the term sheet that they may receive. Once the company has received fundraising, we provide them with the post-investment support. This basically involves mentoring and coaching these SMEs, identify any management gaps that they might have, and recruiting any management that any management that they may need, and also assist them with improving their reporting systems and among others. Yeah. So we'll dive deeper into the how to develop the bankable pitch. Basically, when you are targeting investors, you need to develop a pitch that highlights your different goals, the problem that you're solving. You also highlight the solution that you're providing the customers and the outcome of your company. So for a pitch deck, you start off with the executive summary that basically highlights the statement of the investment opportunity to an investor. This summary also highlights what the company does, the key objective that the company also has, and also it also describes the overview and the industry in which your company is at, and the product and services in which you are providing to the customer. All this will be described in later stages of this training in detail. Yeah. So the first and foremost, when you're doing a pitch deck, the first thing you need to describe is the problem. This is clearly identifying what problem you're solving and the gravity in which the problem that you identify and why this problem that needs to be addressed. So for you to do this, you need to back this the problem statement with data that support this, why this is a problem, and also identify the solution that you're going to provide the different customers within the market. And also, once you've provided the solution, you need to also identify what is the outcome your company is going to have. So in summary, this slide normally entails what your company does and the vision your company has in general. Yeah. After this, you proceed to the value proposition. This basically summarizes the value in which you're providing your customers, and also you identify whom is your ideal customers, and also identify the products and the benefits, value, and your products have in the market. The value your products is giving to the customer and how it stands out. So tips into sharing out your value proposition. These slides need to be very clear and concise. Yeah, ensure that any buyer or customer can easily and quickly understand your message. And it also needs to be very straightforward and specific. In these slides, basically, they need to avoid any technical jargon, and also you need to explain your products in a very unique and a language in which your target market can connect with. Yeah.
I totally agree with the language and being very clear, because I think when investors look at your pitch deck, they will only spend maybe 2-3 minutes of their time. They look through many pitch decks. So having very clear, concise, and very simple language will help them understand what you're trying to say better. So moving on to the next slide. So we want to talk about the target market. So investors want to see, okay, what is your problem? What is your solution? And how many customers do you have in the market that you can sell the product to? Because at the end of the day, you want to make them money. So you can talk, in this section, you have to look at the full target market, the total market. Where are you placed within that market? Is there any opportunity for growth? And then what are the regions and sizes within that? So it's important to have the bigger picture and then slowly drill it down so that your investor can see the potential and scope within the bigger market. So this is the potential section. So initially it's the full scope. Then now you're talking about the company's potential within that target market. So what is the size of the market that you're playing in? How big can you grow? So the growth rate. What is the biggest growth driver? So are you being pushed by the trends? Are you being pushed by current changes in, for example, sustainability or climate change? Is that a big driver for your project or your company? And what is so attractive about your company? Why within this target market is it so attractive? So this diagram is very important because it shows that 3 Ps basically: where do you sell your product, or what is the product for, how will it be used, and where do you sell it? Is it online? Is it e-commerce? Is it face-to-face? Is it through distributors? Is it B2B, B2B? So there's lots of distribution channels that you can use to target your market, basically. And this all needs to go onto this slide. This is your competitors. So it's important to evaluate who your competitors are. If you look at your business and you say, this is an absolutely new product, and there is nothing else in the market, there's no competitors, there is usually some competitor involved. For example, say you're creating a software that looks at legal documents, for example. There is nothing in the market that might be emulating that, but lawyers or the legal system, the current legal system, would be your competitor. So there is no such thing as no competitor, but when you are evaluating your competitors, you have to look at the competitive landscape as a full and holistic view. So not only look at software maybe, or not only look at ag tech, but look at different aspects that could be a competition to you. How do you fit within that? Where do you see yourself fitting in terms of price point and business description, in terms of sales? So where are you in sales, and where is your competitor in sales? And who are their key clients? I think it's important to know, are they big ticket items? Are you going to be focusing on the smaller ticket items? Or I think so investors need to know where you stand comparatively to your competitors. And this is a slide that you can optionally put in. This creates an overview of products and markets. So whatever the 3 slides that we've spoken about kind of come together in this slide. It's a nice to have, but usually when you're presenting to investors, you try to keep your slides as minimum as possible. But basically it outlines the industries that you work in, the market that you work in, just very basically, and the revenues, potential revenues that you could actually tap into. The next slide that you have to design is basically the business model slide. So investors want to see in a very quick and concise way. So a diagram is basically the best way to represent this slide. What are your inputs? How are you processing it? And where are you going to sell it? And what distribution methods are you going to sell it? This could be, for example, you're importing fertilizer. So who do you import the fertilizer from? The channels that you import it in through, how does it come to you? Who are your suppliers? What do you do with it? Do you repackage? Do you sell them in bulk? And then how do you distribute them? So your channels, so you're using current distributors in the market, you are putting them in a warehouse and people are coming there and buying it. So they want to see your business as a whole, basically. How does it go from start to finish? And how are you making money in that process? They also want to see, you can also add performance to date in this slide. So as you've designed your diagram, you can add, okay, at this stage, we've already accomplished this milestones, and this is how much we have made so far. And you can add these milestones as you go along in this business model slide. Next, they also want to see who's leading the company. So they want to usually see your upper management team. So if you have a board, that would be great. So you usually have a board, you explain who your directors and your board members are, and then you go on to your management. So they usually want to see a very balanced team. You have your CEO or you have your managing director leading the company. And then underneath that, you have a finance person, you have a tech person, if it's tech company, ag tech company, or you have a procurement manager, or you have a sales manager, marketing manager. So they want to see a very balanced company, and the team is always better to present than a single person, because from our experience, it's very hard to run a company as a single person. You really need a team to support you and grow together. So they would want to see who are in those positions. And if you could put a little bit of a summary, for example, Panina, Growth Hub Manager, worked for 8 years in finance. So they would say, okay, she's very experienced. So if you put the name, who they are a little bit, their background and their role, this will give a great picture to them in this org chart method. Moving on, next, this is another option to put a more detailed synopsis or detailed summaries of all your upper management staff. Obviously, their academic qualifications need to be there, their previous accomplishments, and how many years they've been in the field. Sometimes when you're starting something new, it's very hard to say 1 or 2 years, but I'm sure there are applicable years that you could put under each person in the field. Yeah, you just have to include maybe the top 4 people that are most qualified in this. But this is a critical slide actually to show your capabilities and your ability to lead with your experience that you've had so far. Moving on, the next slide is basically a growth plan. So you have your product, you have your team in place, you understand your business model, how you're going to make the money. So now, how are you going to grow and scale, and how are you going to develop the company in a way where it will plot you for success and more growth in the future? So they want to see growth expectations, so both demand and the production. So how will you deal with the demand that's coming in? And in terms of production, there is also a challenge to, say, for example, you're developing a maize farm, for example. Do you have a constraint in terms of the land that you have? So in terms of the production, how are you going to match that demand? If there's a demand coming through, how are you going to grow that land? Are you going to acquire more? Are you going to lease? So they want to see all these growth ideas, making sure that any product that is introduced will have that success for the next coming years, and their investment is safe and will grow, because most of the investors that invest want to see 4, 5, even 10x of their investment. So you really need to think about how to grow your company 10 times more than what it already is. So this is a very critical slide actually for you yourself to think about the opportunities and the challenges that you will face in terms of the growth for the next couple of years. Another thing that investors always look for is social impact. So currently there's a massive drive and an understandably important drive for social impact and understanding how your business will impact not only society around you, but also the climate in terms of sustainability, food security. Does any of your products help, or do they actually bring about a negative consequence? For example, fertilizer. There is a big negative impact of using fertilizer, creating greenhouse gases. Off-runs go into the river systems, polluting, creating more algae, so fish can't thrive. So there is a knock-on effect. And investors, even though you might be creating some kind of issue, but how do you mitigate it? Do you educate your buyers? Do you educate your users? So this is the slide where you explain all these things. So what is the baseline? So you also have to measure what is the baseline. So currently, for example, 100 users use your product, and they are achieving this at the baseline. But after using your product, after 2 years, they've increased their productivity. They have created more jobs, maybe 100 more jobs. They have set up a school, maybe, and helping the local community. So, so there's so much of impact that can be driven from a business. And I think in Africa, definitely the impact is so profound and life-changing. So this slide is absolutely imperative there. And it's good to look at and think about how your business is affecting the world around you. We come back to our final slides now because, as you know, investors don't have much time and we have to keep it concise. So the final two slides are talking about financials. Investors want to see charts because they can read charts very easily, not tables with lots of numbers in it. So they want to see your sales. So sales to date would be important, but also the projected sales over the next couple of years. So where are you now and where do you want to be over the next couple of years? And obviously fudging is not a very is a thing that investors can see very clearly. So being as practical and as realistic as possible is very important. We need to list all the assumptions that you've made. So in terms of how you want to achieve your sales, what are your drivers and assumptions in place? And you can just make tiny notes at the bottom of your charts to explain, okay, this is based on 1,000 users or sales of 100,000 pieces. So you can note that within X many years. You need to explain the total customers or the total sales that you made, total expenses and total profit. So it's a very simple chart. How much have you sold? What are your expenses making that sale, cost of sales? And then what are your profits at the end? And that is it's good enough for an investor to understand where you sit and how are you going to grow for the next couple of years. And finally, you want to ask the investor how much you're looking for and how will you use the money, because investors want to see it used in the most effective way. Is their investment going to be used to pay for more staff that will actually increase sales? So you want to get more sales managers to come in and increase sales, or you want to invest in a new system that's going to save you 90% of your time so that you can focus more on BD, for example. So this is the slide to ask them, what are you going to put their money into? So as you can see, the table, you want to put into sales and marketing, you want to put into development and technology, you want to purchase more raw material or inventory, or you want to buy more land, or you want to lease more land so you can plant more maize. So this is where you explain what are you going to use the money for, and why they would want to invest in you in the first place. So this is a good slide and a very important slide too. Brilliant. So I think we've come to the end of our presentation, our webinar on creating a pitch deck. Obviously, pitch decks are very concise. The lesser the words, but the more impact it brings is more valuable. And try to keep your slides as concise as possible. So we've presented around 20 slides, but we wanted to really give you a overview of the different slides that you could present and the types of designs that you could present. But ideally, it would have to be between 10 to 15 slides. That's what investors look at, and it would have to be as diagrammatic as possible. If you can keep it to fewer words and more images, diagrams, how things flow from one stage to another, if you can keep it with charts, that's also brilliant. So obviously, as Panina mentioned, the Growth Hub is really passionate about helping SMEs to scale up, to grow, to get it becoming investment ready, to help them raise funding. So if you are a SME with more than 3 years experience with a proven concept, audited accounts, so please feel free to contact us. You can go onto our website, www.agrigrowthhub.com, and there's the application page where you can apply to be part of our program. So we provide subsidized technical assistance. And so we can help you get there at a subsidized rate, basically. So thank you so much for spending time listening to our presentation on creating bankable pitch decks. And if you have any questions, please feel free to type it in the Q&A box, and we can have a run through any questions that anyone might have. So while we wait for some questions to come in, I think we can go back to some of the slides and discuss in more detail. I think, Penina, what do you think is a good slide to discuss in a little bit more detail? I can start with the target market slide, because I think this is quite hard for people to actually come up with who their target market is. So if we take an example, for example, of let's say an ag tech company. So the ag tech company is creating robotics, a robot that can go and weed plants, for example. So they have a camera that identifies the weed and they go and pluck it out. So it's quite a difficult industry to kind of quantify and find out who their target market is. But if you look at it, every single farm would probably need one of these machines. So how do you classify who your target market is? So first of all, I think you need to look at your ideal customer. So if you look at who would be the one that could afford the product, who would have the space and the width that could put one of your robots there for them to work, because as you know that you need quite a bit of a space for them to actually get the return on the investment. When you invest in these robots, you need to really have a big enough farm to be able to support that. So firstly, I suppose the main important thing is to go back to data on who the biggest farm owners are, maybe in Kenya. So you look at your biggest farm owners, create a list of all of them, look at their sizes. What are their business size? How many are there? So this is slowly, you're creating your ideal customer here and their size. How many of them are there? What is the total size? So from that, you can estimate, okay, they're selling X amount of grain every year, for example. So that means it would consolidate into this price. So you could estimate, or you look at their financials online and see what their revenues are. And then how would you position yourself and how would you sell yourself within this market? So you want to create subdivisions. So you're not only going to be focusing on grain, you're going to be looking maybe people who are going to be creating coffee. So let's break down the market a little bit more. So you have your whole big companies, then you could break it down: grain, coffee, macadamia, avocado. So let's break it down according to all these different divisions. You're creating all these divisions. And then within that, create geographic areas. So coffees are only predominantly here in this area of Kenya. Coffee is only in this area. Tea is only in this area. Within that, you can break it down even more. So this is going a little bit more in detail, maybe for your own understanding also. Sometimes it's really hard to show it on the slide, but for your own understanding, it's important to understand where your markets lie. So you're breaking down your customer base, you're breaking down where they lie, how much they earn, what their products are also. So within, say, for example, tea packaging, they might have tea, but then they also may be selling other things with it. Where can you go within that? Can you sell your robotic equipment there? Maybe it's not the weeding. Maybe you could create another product. Maybe it's a packaging product that they're looking for, something new. It's all about problem solving. Business is all about problem solving. And then within that, pricing. So can they afford you in a way? So are they charging their customers high enough to create that profits to charge to buy your product? So you have to look at that in relation to what you are selling. And this is how you create your target market. So you create that bigger chunk and then slowly break it down. And that's what investors want to see. Have you done your due diligence on your markets? Do you understand where can you target? So maybe you want to start with one division. Okay, I'm only going to start with the coffee plantations because it's the one that has the most weeds, and it's really hard to manage coffee because coffees are grown under shrubs. So there's going to be lots of competition around them. So you have to go, and that is the place that needs you the most, basically. So you can break it down like that. So I think that's a very good way of thinking about target market and breaking it down step by step. In terms of how you can grow, you need to think about your growth. I think growth is very important, and explaining how you will grow into not only creating this one product, but different avenues and applications of your product is also very important. So you need to look at the size of your market, firstly, and your potential growth rate according to the products that you have. You'll notice when you do a lot of marketing listening, so listening to your customer, speaking to your customer and listening to your customer is one of the most powerful things that you can actually do. You will realize that if you go into the problem solving mode, you can create so many more products and solutions for your client, and creating more of that growth comes from problem solving and listening to your customer. That really develops your marketing strategy. And when you have that marketing strategy in place, you become so attractive for your customer to come and buy from you. So this slide is very important to explain that. Why are you attractive currently in your market? And that's also linked to growth, obviously. Hopefully that's understandable. In terms of competition, I think we've gone through the competition slide previously, but I think there is another, the competitive positioning is also very important in this, in understanding competition. So there is many graphs that you can see online that explains where you sit in comparative location to your competition. For example, some competitors are really large and they charge very high, but their quality is not as good. Some competitors charge low, but also not as good. So you can actually create a table or a chart explaining this. It's similar to the table that we have here, but it is in a diagrammatic form. So you can put yourself in the quadrant that is most favorable. For example, coming back to that robotics example, so you have a product that you have, it is expensive, but the outcomes are also like how much you can save for your client is also very high. But sometimes the product is expensive, but the cost effectiveness is not that expensive. So you can actually place yourself in comparison to your clients, so that investors can see, okay, you're not so expensive as the top gun of your competitors, but you are still achieving the same quality and consistency. So that means there's much there's a potential here. So you've created efficiencies within your business that can go and be competitive and maybe even like push the top gun off the office podium. So this is what you need to translate into this competitive slide. I think, Penina, we've covered all the main slides. Is there, I see a question has come through under the Q&A. Okay. So Davis has a question. What role do you see for technology in modern agriculture, and how do you evaluate tech-driven agricultural investments? Penina, do you want to answer that?
Yes, thank you, Anu, for that. So to add on the training today, so basically for a pitch deck, it needs to highlight 3 things. 1, the problem that you are currently seeing in the market, your solution that you're providing the market, and the outcome. So, but most of the pitch decks of late, they normally talk about the problem, solution, 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 solution. And most investors cannot see what outcome that they are going to get once they, to see any outcome they are going to see from your business once they invest in your company. So as much as you are preparing any pitch deck, you need to make sure that you have highlighted 3 sections, which is the problem, the solution, and the outcome from your company. So in terms of David's question, what role do you see for technology in modern agriculture? I think technology is going to revolutionize agriculture, basically because we are seeing technology that are monitoring the crops. They are monitoring how the crops are being produced. They're also monitoring the crop health. They're also monitoring either it's livestock, whether they are the livestock is good or not. So technology is going to revolutionize agriculture in the essence that it will help farmers be able now to produce better crops in a more efficient and economical way. So basically how tech-driven agricultural investments are evaluated, basically we look at the software that has been used, the hardware that also has been used.
Might have lost Penina there. Just give Penina a couple of minutes. Okay, I think we've really lost Penina now. Okay, so let me just continue from what Penina was saying. I think as she was saying, we look at a whole host of different aspects. Obviously the software, the technology, but also the potential, how it sits within other agriculture. Penina, are you back?
Yes, I am.
Oh, brilliant. We lost you for a little bit.
Okay, my internet dropped. Yeah, so basically, I don't know why you lost me at.
Yeah, you were explaining how tech companies are evaluated. You were looking at the software.
Yes, okay. Yes, so basically how you evaluate tech agri investment, basically you look at the software and the hardware that has been utilized in the business, and you also look at the outcome once the tech has been used in the different agricultural solution. Yeah, what are the outcomes either the farmer is going to get or the company. With this, you are able to project either the revenues these enterprises are going to get, and now you're able to identify the value of this specific agricultural agri-tech. Yeah, so basically in a high level, those are the different areas we look at when you're evaluating different tech-driven agricultural investments. Yeah. Do you have anything to add, Anu? Yeah.
No, I think your answer is excellent. Yeah. Yeah, so I think it was like you say, a software, the hardware, the potential that it can grow into. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions from the team, or any other questions from attendees today?
Yes, there's one attendee that is requesting the presentation to be sent. Yes, after this, we will share the presentation with everyone, yeah, who attended the webinar. Yeah. Okay.
And I suppose if there's no other questions, we might wrap up the webinar and explain maybe the next webinar that's coming up, Penina.
Yes, the next webinar will be in terms of financial modeling. So basically, it will be involved on how to create a financial model, basically for agribusiness. So we will take you through everything, a financial model, and how financial models are created, and the different functional requirements of a functional financial model. So basically, yeah, it will be a short, quick information session on how to create a financial model. Yeah.
And where would we use the financial model?
A financial model basically will be used in here. It can be used in the pitch deck. So when you're creating the financials slide, basically you have to show your current and your projections. So basically it can be used in charts here, here in the financial section. And also it's also used in at the business plan, because what a financial model does, it explains your business in terms of numbers, and how you're going to get income in the future. What expenses do you expect your business to incur over the period of your during the business over the next 5 years. So it's also like a planning tool that helps businesses during both the business planning and their strategic plan development. Yeah.
Great. So if you're interested in joining our next webinar, I look out on our LinkedIn page, and I suppose Penina will also send some invites out to everyone through a newsletter to get everyone signed up if you're interested in joining. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for spending time to listen to us, and hopefully you've learned a lot. As always, if you have any questions, do email us. You can email Penina directly, penina@agrigrowthhub.com. Else Penina will definitely send you the slides. And if you have any questions or about the program, also do contact us, and we're happy to spend some time to talk to you about that. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, everybody, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much for your time. Yeah. Have a good day.